Welcome, divine mandate. They'd be enlightened by now if they spend half as much time working on themselves as they do conspiring against you. That's what this message is all about. Because let's face it, some individuals made your life a full-time job. They came in early, remained late, and never requested for time off. They followed your life like it was their favorite TV show. And when the plot twist didn't go their way, they were heartbroken. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The moment their carefully planned demise for you turned into the worst shame of their life. Psychologists suggest that when someone tries too hard to guess what someone else will do, they frequently give away what they want to do instead. That's precisely what took place. They were so focused on counting your steps that they forgot you don't move when they tell you to. You move based on your gut, the right time, and divine harmony. That's why the arrangement looked perfect on paper. From their point of view, that's why the trap seemed airtight. But here's the twist that no one told them about. You aren't in the same mental space where they attempted to trap you anymore. They made a labyrinth for the scared, hurt, and reactive version of you, without knowing that it was like software that had been updated 5 times and was no longer usable. You are now a whole different operating system. Yet they are still attempting to hack you using Windows 98 energy. And when they finally set the trap, hoping you would walk straight into it, all they saw was dust, quiet, and their own reflection. If anything, the only thing that got caught in the trap was their false sense of self and maybe a little bit of their pride. You didn't get away from their trap. You became too big for it. And that really hurt. Since nothing makes a schemer angrier than knowing that all their planning, hard work, and late-night whispering sessions were for naught because the person they were trying to get to look at them wasn't even looking at them. Let's get started. The arrangement was just right. The trap worked well. It's a shame you weren't there. Number 1. They constructed a trap for the version of you that isn't around anymore. People assume they know you because they recall how you used to be. People utilize old versions of you, as someone uses an old map to go around a city that has been rebuilt. That's precisely what occurred in this case. They set a trap for you. Even if you don't even live in your flesh anymore, your prior weaknesses, responses, and emotional patterns when you were still hurt, uncertain of yourself, or easy to manipulate were all used to make their strategy. They thought that the old triggers still worked. They thought the same anxieties were still around. They thought the same fears were still there to greet them. They didn't know that the doors were permanently closed. People don't realize how much someone can change once they resolve to stop being wounded by someone. Healing doesn't only make the heart softer, it changes the whole operating system. You don't even think about the things that used to terrify you. The bait that used to get you interested now seems like a warning flag that you would never follow. You didn't get out of their trap because you were fortunate. You didn't do it because the version of you they made it for is no longer around. It's like they made a cage for a bird, but then the bird changed into something with wings that they can't foresee or control. They were researching your past behaviors while you were changing into someone they can't reach anymore. And that's what makes their entire plan so funny. They worked hard. They made the setup. They figured out every little thing. But the only thing they really understood was how wrong they were about you. They needed a person who no longer lives to set their trap. And by the time they did, they had to face the reality. Your progress took away their edge. The whole plan fell apart as soon as you become your new self. What they got ready for was your past. What came was your growth. And that's why their immaculate trap came apart without you even touching it. Number 2. They thought you would act on instinct, but they never thought you would be disciplined. The whole strategy depended on one thing, that you would do precisely what they wanted you to do. They thought you would become angry, pursue them, or panic. Every part of their arrangement was intended to cause emotional upheaval, as when someone is still holding on to prior trauma. They relied on your gut feelings, your direct responses, and your unvarnished fire. They assumed they knew everything about your emotions, even the tiniest tremors of fury or despair. They didn't think you could control yourself in ways they couldn't possibly comprehend. Discipline is more than simply being able to control yourself. It is a weapon that functions silently and without being seen. Yet it is quite accurate. You didn't need to respond, since you had previously witnessed what happened when you gave in to your feelings too many times. You had learned that reacting with careful thought, timing, and clarity is far better than acting on impulse. They were waiting for anything to go wrong, a breakdown, or a mistake that would show that their strategy succeeded. They didn't get anything instead. Your calmness didn't only make people mad, it broke the idea that they ever had influence over you. The irony is harsh. They spent hours, days, maybe even months waiting for a response that would prove their plans were right. They figured out the angles, the triggers, the pressure points, and the bait. They thought they could guess what the person they knew previously would do. But you had made your system better. You had become into someone who thinks before they act instead of acting on impulse, someone who doesn't let others take charge, and someone whose patience and forethought make traps useless. Their excellent strategy and setup were based on one faulty assumption, that you were still a human who might be provoked. The entire structure fell apart when you didn't accept the bait. Their great work lost all significance since it only worked when you were weak, and you could no longer be weak. Your discipline didn't simply rescue you, it also showed how weak their fixation was. They thought you would act on your impulses, but they never thought you would be able to do it. 3. You broke the trap by not playing the part they wanted you to. There is a script for every trap. They thought you would step into their tail and follow the signals they gave you, hitting every emotional target they set for you. They thought you would behave just how they thought you would, becoming angry, scared, confused, or desperate. They imagined they were in charge of a play and that you were the actor who would do a great job of playing their part. They didn't think about one important thing. You stopped doing things for individuals who didn't deserve to be in the front row of your life. Not doing what they're supposed to do isn't just being defiant, it's being powerful. It's when you understand that their plan only works if you become involved, and that their drama needs you to be a part of it. The trap was well made and tailored to get the precise response they sought. Every perspective, every arrangement, and every coincidence was planned to make you act in a certain way. But the trap didn't work right away. When you didn't hit their indications, it was like giving someone the key to a door you don't even own anymore. You showed how weak their idea was by not doing what they wanted. They thought they were in charge of you. But control only exists when someone lets it. They treated you like a chess piece, expecting you to move precisely where they thought you would. Instead, you become the player who doesn't even look at the board. The moment you said you wouldn't appear on their stage, all of their plans, machinations, and late-night strategizing were useless. This is why their trap didn't simply fail. It fell apart in a big way. Every attempt to control you, every layer of lies, and every ounce of strategy relied on your help. And when you didn't provide it, the illusion of their power went away. You didn't simply go away. You changed the rules on how to act. Their plan was perfect, but only if you did what they wanted you to do. By saying no, you not only broke the trap, but you also reminded everyone that the trap itself isn't the most hazardous thing. It's the person who won't go inside it. 4. Your absence showed everyone what they really wanted. When you didn't fall into the trap, something occurred that none of them were ready for. The spotlight turned on them. They couldn't hide behind anything since you weren't there to blame, provoke, or control them. Everyone involved had to keep on with their plan even if you weren't there. And that's where they let their actual feelings show loud and clear. Without the mask they usually wear so firmly, you didn't have to face anybody or tell them anything. They showed themselves as soon as you said you didn't want to take part. The fact is that individuals reveal their true colors when the target isn't there, when the person who is supposed to ruin the tale isn't feeding it. The folks behind it start to panic. They don't want to wait. They become clumsy. They speak too much. They give up information that they were intended to keep secret. They start blaming each other, telling secrets, and turning on each other since the strategy hinged on how you reacted to keep everyone on the same page. The glue that held their partnership together fell apart when you didn't help. Because you weren't there, they had to keep on with the script on their own. And in doing so, they told on themselves. Every whisper, every unexpected change, and every fine motion made it clear who was cooperating with whom, what their real goals were, and how long they had been planning. Without you ever having to lift a finger, they showed you their jealousy, insecurity, desperation, and obsession. You didn't get them. They caught themselves. People are often surprised by this. Stillness and distance disclose more than conflict. You transformed their trap into a confession box by stepping back. You made it hard for them to disguise their plans by not responding. Every secret plan they attempted to hide came to light as soon as they couldn't control you anymore. Not being there didn't only keep you safe, it revealed the truth. It made every player show what they were attempting to hide. The trap didn't fall apart in the end because it wasn't built properly. It fell apart because it only functioned when you were in it. Number 5. Their trap only shows how scared they still are of how good you may be. When someone sets a trap for you, they are already admitting something. They sense something in you that they can't control, can't guess, and can't beat. People don't put time, energy, and effort into someone they think is below them. They only make complicated setups when they are scared. And in this instance, their whole trap show the truth. They're more afraid of what you're becoming than anything else. They can't bear to look at your potential because it shows them who they really are. They didn't do what they did because they were sure of themselves. They were scared. Fear that you're becoming bigger quicker than they thought. Fear that you're outgrowing the position they sought to keep you in. They are scared that the person they attempted to break is now becoming someone they can't control or figure out. Every part of their plan was a frantic effort to slow you down, divert you, or ruin what they fear is coming for you: success, fame, self-control, and a life they don't think you should have. It's funny that they tried to halt your potential, but it simply made it stronger. People who don't have a future don't have foes who plan. Someone who has no power doesn't make others this obsessed. People don't attempt to catch things that don't have wings. The fact that they worked so hard to hide how much they believe in you shows how much they do. They recognized your potential long before you did, and they were afraid of it, so they tried to restrict it. They didn't understand that pressure doesn't make potential go away. It becomes bigger. All of their plotting simply made you stronger. All their plans simply showed how crucial your trip is. Their anxiety showed how amazing you are. Their need for you showed how important you were. The trap wasn't actually meant to kill you. It was meant to halt the version of you that they know would outgrow their whole tail. You outsmarted them by not requiring approval from dangerous individuals anymore. Getting stronger wasn't the greatest change in your life. You stopped requiring approval from individuals who never cared about you in the first place. That one modification ruined their whole plan. They thought you would go after them for answers, closure, apologies, or some other type of recognition. They assumed you still needed them to accept you the way you used to. They thought you still wanted others to understand you. Even if they never did on purpose, you stopped wanting it, and they stopped being able to control you. People that are dangerous don't need weapons. They only need to be able to get to your sense of self-worth. They didn't build their trap to catch your body. It was designed to get you to one affirmation. They used what they believed you still wanted to get you to do what they wanted: reconciliation, recognition, attention, or the appearance of peace. They set up scenarios that would bring up past emotional scars, hoping you would fall for it like you usually had. But the version of you they were planned for died when you stopped trying to get them to accept you. Their power goes away when you no longer need their approval. The insults don't hurt. The quiet doesn't frighten me. The manipulation doesn't make me want to. And the bait is very clear. That's what occurred in this case. You didn't fall into the trap because you finally learned that not everyone who reaches out to you is there to assist. Some people are there to bring you back to the cycles you worked so hard to get out of. Your best move was to stop being emotionally dependent. You didn't respond to what they did. You observed what they wanted. Instead of rushing into solve matters, you stood back and allowed their conduct show itself, and without your need for confirmation fueling the dynamic, their power went away. You had to want their approval for their trap to work, and when it went away, so did their whole scheme. They thought you were changing, but you were only remembering who you were before you attempted to get affection from the wrong people. Number 7. They designed an entire system, not simply a trap, and you got away from it all. What they had in mind for you wasn't just one moment or one emotional setting. They built something far bigger, an entire system that can trap you from many different aspects. They didn't simply want to make you angry once. It was to set off a series of events that would make you appear guilty, crazy, or out of control. They wanted you to make one mistake so they could use it to justify a series of planned actions on their part. It wasn't just a happenstance. It was a plan, not a mistake, but a framework. They were building a chain reaction that would make your initial response the push that sent everything falling in their favor. But there was a basic fault in their plan. The system only functioned if you got in. You didn't. You went around the whole building, leaving everything they made dangling in the air, with nothing to hold it up. You didn't only avert a trap, you also stopped an agenda. The best part was that you didn't have to confront, dispute, expose, or get back at anybody. You just refused to take part, and the system fell apart on its own. They thought you would step on the first step, so they could turn on the rest. They were sure of themselves because they thought you were predictable and would respond the same way every time. They thought they could control the result, but your development messed up their timetable. Your awareness messed up their strategy. Your emotional growth messed up their script. Your participation was necessary for every portion of the system to work. And when you didn't show up, all they had left to show for it was their own plans. You didn't just avoid a trap. You avoided a whole setup. It was meant to keep you in a story they made up behind your back. And the worst thing for them is that you got through it all without even breaking a sweat. The tale came apart because you didn't go along with it. Their system became into a bunch of bits that didn't link to each other and didn't have any purpose, power, or influence. They didn't fail because they weren't good at what they did. They failed because you grew out of the version of yourself that their whole system relied on. Number 8. They were ready for your rage, but your accuracy scared them even more. The whole thing was put up with one goal in mind, for you to blow up. They were ready for the loud response, the passionate outpouring, the quick decision, and the big move. They designed everything around the version of you who used to respond right away, who used to act before thinking, and who brought unhued emotions into every interaction. They were hoping that anger would be the response, because rage is something you can count on. It's simple to capture, manipulate, and use anger as a weapon. They were ready for it. They even practiced how they would react to it. They never expected you to be so precise, cool, and able to think clearly, without allowing their efforts to get you angry get to you. They had nothing to utilize when you didn't blow up. Their plan didn't work when you didn't fall apart. Everyone was amazed by how calm and clear-headed you were in your response. That scared them. Not your rage, but your calmness. They were ready for anarchy, not for planning. People who rely on emotional reactions are at risk when things are precise. It demonstrates that you're no longer being motivated by pain, but by knowledge. It shows that you're not predictable anymore, and that makes everything they planned go wrong. They didn't know what to do when their minds were silent. They didn't know how to deal with someone who watches before they do anything. They lost control of the situation when you used reasoning instead of emotion to answer. Their strategy wasn't strong enough to handle someone who had gotten over the things they used to do to hurt them. Your calm made them show their real colors because you were so emotionless. Every action they made seemed exaggerated and suspicious. Your self-control changed the balance of power before they even realized it was occurring. They wanted you to be loud so they could act like they didn't know what was going on. But when you remained smart, it made them appear like the issue. Without your rage, their story fell apart. Number 9. They believed being alone would break you, but they didn't realize that it was what made you stronger. Isolation is one of the oldest tactics in any arrangement. They wanted you to be alone, not understood, cut off, or surrounded by people who didn't care about you. They thought that if they could make you feel alone, unsupported, or unheard, you would panic and fall into the emotional trap they set for you. They used isolation as a weapon since it worked on you in the past. It used to make you doubt yourself. It made you depend on the same individuals who were hurting you. They hoped the same plan would work again. They never understood that being alone has made you stronger, not weaker. They didn't get that being alone doesn't terrify you anymore. This is where you put yourself back together. It's where you learn to believe in your own voice. You learn it to be spiritually smart, emotionally clear, and independent there. They felt that being alone would make you weak, but it made you stronger. They thought it would make you weaker, but it made you stronger in ways they couldn't have imagined. They thought that isolating you would make you unstable, but it really made you stable. You learned how to keep your cool while no one was rooting for you. You learned how to keep going even when no one was there to help you. You learned how to tell the difference between noise and intuition, And that was enough to break their whole arrangement. Their strategy fell apart as soon as you didn't break down from being alone. When they saw that you weren't panicking, seeking out for help, or giving in to stress, uncertainty impacted them harder than any fight could. They started to understand that the weak version of you they knew was gone. The new you can stand on its own without falling apart. You are not bothered by quiet or distance anymore. When you are alone, the new you becomes more dangerous because your head clears, your judgment improves, and you can halt your next action. Being alone was designed to keep you stuck in your old anxieties. It showed their own instead. Nothing worries a schemer more than finding out that the person they sought to break up with alone came back stronger. 10. Your grief turned into a quiet technology that changed everything about you. Some types of pain don't simply leave scars. They impact how a person is built on the inside. People say things like, "What you went through didn't just make you stronger," when they don't comprehend how bad things were for you. What really transpired is even more strange and uncommon. Your neurological system, intuition, vision, emotional intelligence, and even the way your soul scans a room all changed completely. You didn't get well in the normal way. You changed into a new sort of person. When someone feels so much agony, their body and mind cease obeying the regular rules. You start to understand things faster. You notice reasons before acts. Before you hear words, you hear tone. You see patterns that other people miss. Your gut feeling becomes stronger and more accurate. Not because you're exceptional by nature, but because suffering made your inner world change at a speed that most people can't handle. It's not magic. It's the type of change that happens when pressure tries to shatter someone who won't break. People don't get you anymore because of it. You have a whole other way of thinking than they do. They're reacting to life on the surface, while you're reacting from the inside. Where you were pushed, you don't get thrilled about the things that make people happy. You don't fall for the techniques that they use to deceive you. You don't freak out when they fall apart. Your suffering changed how much dread, disappointment, and loss you could handle. What used to kill you doesn't even bother you today. And the craziest part, that change wasn't planned. You didn't wake up and say, "I want to improve myself." Life put you in a situation where you had to either give up or change. And something within you decided to change. That's why the you who is standing here now looks so different from the you who went into that storm. Pain didn't just change you, it made you who you are. Number 11. You have a type of emotional X-ray vision that no one can hide from. At some point in life, pain goes from being something you feel to something you understand. That change happened to you a long time ago, and it's why people feel uneasy around you without knowing why. You became more aware of your feelings in a way that books, therapy, or a life experience can't teach you. It comes from people who tried to hurt you in ways they would never say out loud. The betrayal, the manipulation, the inconsistencies, and the sudden changes in how people act. All of these things trains your mind to notice things that other people can see, even when they're right in front of them. You learn it early on that people lie more with their actions than with their words. They say one thing, but the way they say it, their body language, the time they say it, and what they mean all say something else. Most people don't notice these signals because they've never had to, but you had to do it. You had to catch the shifts before the damage happened to stay alive. And now that you're out of that mess, the skill never stopped working. It just got sharper. That's why you don't act the way other people think you should. You don't let flattery, pressure, authority, or emotional drama get to you. You can see right through the show. You can tell when someone isn't being honest, even if they're smiling. You can feel tension before a fight even starts. You can tell when someone is jealous before they do anything about it. You catch dishonesty before it has a chance to grow. This is scary for people who do things in the dark. This is comforting to people who live honestly. It feels like breathing to you. This ability is so strong because it doesn't come from fear anymore. It was once you used to scan people to keep yourself safe, but now it's just who you are. You're not crazy. You are smart. You don't have a guard. You know. And that knowledge is your superpower. You got a kind of emotional X-ray vision that takes off masks. Number 12. Your spirit learned how to heal itself faster than people could hurt you. Being hurt so many times that your soul had to change to stay alive gives you a rare kind of strength. You got to a point where the pain that used to stop you no longer has the same effect. It still has an effect on you. You are, of course, a person, but the time it took to health had changed. Things that used to take you months to process now only take days. Things that used to break you now only teach you. What used to break you now hardly slows you down. And that's exactly why people from your past are scared of who you've become. You didn't just get stronger. You also learned how to heal your emotions. You learned how to get out of dark places without needing an apology, closure, or validation. You no longer relied on others to fix things. You stopped waiting for someone else to fix what they broke. You learned how to sit with your feelings, understand them, work through them, and let them go in ways that most people your age haven't yet learned how to do. You had to make your own repair system because of life. And now it's one of your best traits. You're not cold or disconnected. So this healing speed isn't because of that. You finally learned the truth. Pain is not who you are. It is information. You didn't let heartbreak define you. Instead, you let it make you better. You didn't let disappointment make you hard. You let it make you sharper. Every hit taught you something about yourself, your limits, your patterns, your purpose, your values, and your boundaries. And now, even when someone hurts you, it doesn't break you. It only shows what needs to be changed next. People who used to rely on your breakdowns don't know how to deal with this new you. They were used to the old you, the one who cried for weeks, doubted everything, and felt bad about things that weren't your fault. That version died as soon as you realized you could get back up on your own. Your healing is now fast, clean, and strong. Not revenge. It's change. You turned into someone who doesn't stay hurt. You get up, reset, and move on stronger than before. Number 13. You learned to read people's patterns instead of their words, which made your spirit immune to manipulation. Life taught you to look deeper into people's actions at some point along the way. You stopped believing what people said because you knew that anyone could sound honest. Anyone can pretend to be innocent and be nice long enough to get what they want. You learned that words could be rehearsed, borrowed, copied, or stolen, so they started to feel like they didn't mean anything to you. But patterns, those are always true. Consistency never lies. Habit never lies. The past of a person is always true. And that's the change that made the version of you that people can't lie to anymore. This knowledge didn't come from being smart all of a sudden. It happened because it was played to many times. You saw how people kept doing the same things, even after they said they were sorry. You saw how someone could care today and not care tomorrow. You saw that people could say, "I've changed," and still do the same bad things. Your heart used to give them many chances, but eventually, your spirit started to see patterns that were clear, easy to see, and impossible to ignore. Like how some people track the weather, you can now tell the difference between someone who made a mistake and someone who is built on manipulation. You can tell when someone really likes you and when they're just trying to get something from you. Fake kindness has become so common for you that it doesn't confuse you anymore. You've looked at broken promises long enough to know which ones will happen again. People are really scared because you don't have to call them out anymore. You just change your distance, energy, and access. People can't control you now because you can read patterns. They can't trick you, lead you on, make you feel bad, or confuse you like they used to. You can tell when someone wants something from you, when they envy you, when they want to use you, or when they are hiding their true intentions. You learned how to control your emotions in a way that most people never do. Number 14. The trap didn't work because you were working from a timeline they can't get to. They made their plan based on the idea that your life was still on the same clock as theirs, and that your feelings, decisions, and actions were all based on their schedule. Every move, every calculation, and every expectation depended on a timeline that is no longer there. They assumed you would respond immediately, predictably, and emotionally. What they didn't realize is that you've shifted to a completely different rhythm, one dictated by awareness, intuition, and alignment rather than panic, fear, or pressure. Their perfect setup was designed for someone living in their world, but you're now operating in a dimension they can't enter, a schedule they can't read, a reality they can't manipulate. Your timing has become your armor. While they scramble to execute their trap according to their agenda, you moved with precision, patience, and foresight. You no longer react to chaos. You anticipate it, adjust around it, and let it run its course without touching you. What used to feel urgent now unfolds according to your inner clock, a timeline aligned with purpose, clarity, and survival. They expected immediacy and impulsiveness, and instead, they were met with calculated stillness. Their strategies depended on controlling when and how you acted, but your freedom from their schedule rendered every effort meaningless. By the time they realized you weren't in their timeline, panic and confusion set in. They couldn't manipulate, provoke, or corner you because every action they took assumed you were still bound by their rules. You were already several steps ahead, moving in a space where their influence doesn't reach. The trap didn't just fail, it collapsed spectacularly under the weight of your detachment from their temporal expectations. This is why you didn't merely escape. It was impossible for them to contain you. The version of you they designed the trap for doesn't exist anymore. You live on a schedule they can't touch, a timeline they can't predict, and in that reality, you are untouchable. Their trap was perfect on paper, but in the living world of your evolution, it didn't even register. You transcended the time frame they believed would control you, and that is the ultimate reason their plan imploded before it ever had a chance. The story of the trap, the setup, and the schemers who thought they could control you is not just about a moment. It's about a lifetime of evolution, discipline, and self-mastery. Every effort they made, every strategy they plotted, and every expectation they held was built for a version of you that no longer exists. From the very first moment, they underestimated your growth, your discipline, and the precision with which you moved through life. They assumed you would react like you once did, that you would feed into the script they wrote, and that your presence in their narrative would validate their control. But you rewrote the story before they even realized it, moving on a timeline they could never access and responding from a place of mastery and awareness they could never anticipate. What they saw as perfect traps and foolproof plans were only mirrors reflecting their fear, obsession, and lack of understanding. Their designs failed because you operate differently now. You don't need validation, you don't follow the old patterns, and you don't live by the rules they try to impose. Your evolution, your emotional intelligence, and your capacity to navigate the world without reacting to chaos turned their intentions into nothing more than a lesson in futility. Every trap, every manipulation, every expectation collapsed, not because of luck, but because you became someone who no longer lives in the version of reality they assumed you did. You didn't just survive their schemes, you outgrew them. You became immune to manipulation, untouchable in your timing, and untethered from their expectations. You are a person operating from a higher plane of awareness, strength, and self-discipline that they can't even comprehend. Their obsession, their fear, and their intricate designs all exist to highlight your growth. If this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more insights that sharpen your awareness. Like this video to support the journey. Comment below with your thoughts and experiences so we can grow together, and share it with someone who needs to understand the truth about power, growth, and outgrowing traps. Stay aware, stay untouchable, and remember, you are operating on a timeline they can never reach. God bless you.